Everyone. You might be a little confused because I am not your usual facilitator. Aya is unable to present workshops this week, but I will be here to guide you all through college affordability. My name is Sarah Noon, and I am a program manager at Let's Get Ready. I work closely with your facilitators and coaches. Just a little bit about me. I am a first generation student. I graduated from Dickinson College a few years ago with a Bachelor of Arts in English. I've been a part of College Access for a while now, so I do have a wealth of knowledge and experience, so feel free to chat in or come off me at any point with any questions. And a fun fact, I have a cat and a dog, and I am allergic to them both. All right, so before I share the agenda for today, we have Coach Adeline with us today moderating the workshop. She'll be chatting in links, engaging with you all, and taking attendance. And speaking of attendance, if you all could update your Zoom name with your first and last, or a private message either of us, your full name for attendance and the raffle. For today's workshop, though, we will be diving into the basics of paying for college, ways to build an affordable college list, applying for scholarships, looking ahead at the FAFSA and other financial aid forms, and going over what financial conversations can look like with your family, as well as briefly touching on reviewing financial aid offers. But before we get into today's content, I do want to announce today's raffle of the day. It is a $10 Tango gift card, so you can spend it at a bunch of different places. You can earn up to 3 raffle tickets today, depending on how many of the things you do that is listed here. Chatting in a response or question, unmuting and responding or asking a question, and keeping your camera on. The winner will be announced after the workshop via text. In addition to that, we also have a grand prize raffle. You get 1 ticket towards our annual grand prize raffle for every workshop you've attended. That doesn't mean to attend all 4 workshops this week. It's one ticket per workshops that we've had. But anyway, this is the last workshop. So winners will be calculated after this workshop this week. And so this grand prize has 3 prizes from $100 to $25. And we will announce those at the end of this week on Friday, if not Monday. All right. So jumping right into it, I would do my best to monitor the chat, but feel free to raise hand function if you have an immediate question. So getting started, we will just talk about the basics of paying for college, and we'll dive deeper into what some of these things are. So these are the different types of financial aid that you will see when you're applying to college. We all know scholarships, and then scholarships and grants are free money that you don't have to pay back. And there's various different forms within those. And I'll talk a little bit more about them. But overall, I do want to say that just a reminder that you will never have to pay the full price of your college tuition or even close to it. I mean, unless you are from a wealthy billionaire family and you can afford to, then definitely feel free to. But in most cases, we do not pay the full sticker price. So you do not pay $80K out of pocket every year. There is financial aid that helps subset that cost. And so some of them are scholarships and grants, which are free money that you don't have to pay back. And scholarships can be offered by colleges like the merit scholarships, which are academic based, or the presidential scholarships that most colleges offer. They can also be from organizations or programs that you'll have to find and apply to. We'll talk a little bit more about scholarships later. Grants are free money, and they are typically given by the federal and state governments or even colleges themselves. And then skipping over to work study, this is a somewhat guaranteed job, but students do have to work for the hours to receive the money, and the money that you earn goes straight to your pocket and not straight to your tuition. So you can allocate that however you want to. You can put it towards personal expenses, materials, books, foods, or even make it go towards your tuition. And then lastly, loans. This is something that you do have to pay back. Typically, you would take from the federal loans first before you move on to private loans. Federal loans are generally lower interest, so you have to pay less money in the long term, whereas private loans tend to have higher interest rates, so you end up paying more. And interest rates are what accumulates after you borrow or as you are borrowing. So for example, if I take out 5K with a private loan, I might have end up needing to pay over like 7, 8K depending on the interest rate. Great question, Sophia. That really depends on the college. I don't have an exact list, but there is a link later on that will show you some of them. So some of them could be full ride scholarships. Possibly a lot of private schools will offer this. It just depends on the school and if they have enough funding. I would say probably those larger endowed schools. We'll talk a bit more about this later. Work study? Yeah, it really depends on, I guess, the what the school has available for sorry. So Shirley's question was, can you explain why is it hard to get work study? That really depends on the school and what jobs they have available for students, and then the funding that they get from the government. So if they get like, I don't know, 500K a year, that might be 100 students that they can offer work study jobs to. And so if you're not able to find something at your school, you can also look at internships and jobs available around the community, not exactly at the school. It really depends on the college. I did do work study in college, but I went to a small, like, private liberal arts college, so it wasn't hard for me to find a job there. Maybe at the larger schools, it might come a little less frequently. There might be less opportunities at larger schools. Great questions. Thank you for asking them. All right. Before we get deeper into the content, I do want to ask you all, which of the following best describes your goals related to paying for college? Is it getting as many scholarships as possible, getting a full ride scholarship, taking out no or minimal student loans, or working towards a high-paying or in-demand career so that can be easily repaid? But as you are answering this, I will say my goal for paying for college was definitely ensuring that my parents didn't have to contribute anything. So for me, it would be like all of this. So I wanted to make sure that my parents didn't have to pay out of pocket for anything. And I also wanted to make sure that I went into no debt or as little as possible with loans. I'm first generation low income, so it was super important for me to prioritize college affordability in my journey. But yeah, I would love to hear more from you all. I am seeing, I don't know how many students we have. I think we have everyone. So I'm seeing mostly you all are putting in getting as many scholarships as possible, full ride scholarship, taking out no or minimal student loans, and then lastly is the in-demand career. Okay, so we all kind of have the same goals in mind of making sure that, college is as affordable as possible. And so you all are doing a great job by attending this workshop and learning more. It's definitely good to work towards your ideal goals, but any of these goals are great to have because they're all good financial plans. I definitely recommend having at least one of these in mind as you are building your college list and preparing to apply for colleges next year. If you remember in the future career major workshop that we had a couple of months ago, we went over return on investment. And one of the biggest thing was minimizing cost and loans. So that's a great way to get a return on your investment. So some context about student loans. I know it's scary. You don't want to be in debt. Loans are scary, but it can happen. You might need it, and that's totally okay and normal. And so I want to take this minute to normalize this. So the impact of student loans is disproportionate on first generation students. First generation students, low income students, and students of color. This may make self-education and financial planning feel even more important, so attending this workshop is a great step towards that self-education. As you continue to learn more, your coach and Let's Get Ready will be here for you. If you're intimidated by the idea of student debt, that makes total sense. I am still intimidated by my student loan. There are actually many young people who have joined the efforts to cancel student debt, and you can learn more about that in this link that Eileen will share shortly. Graduating without any debt is not possible for most students, and that's totally okay. You can do your best to minimize that, apply to as many scholarships as you can, and at times it's still not enough, and that's totally okay. But making conscious financial decisions is the goal. If you got a financial aid package and the out-of-pocket cost is 5K a year at a school that you weren't too in love with, but you still liked, versus your dream school, but being in 20K debt a year. The best financial decision might be going to that 5K school rather than the 20K school. And the data here that we are sharing is really to just say that it's okay if you do have to take out loans, but just make sure that you are minimizing it as much as possible. And so these are some great ways to make sure that you are keeping college affordable. One, creating an affordable college list. Two, applying for lots of scholarships. And three, choosing the best financial aid offer. We'll talk about each of these a bit more in the next few slides, but I do want to ask you all, which number are you all most nervous about? Okay, seeing a couple of ones. Okay, I see a two. All of them, totally valid. Okay. I feel like there's an even split between one and two. A couple of alls too. Okay. Okay. We'll definitely talk more about each of these. So definitely ask your questions and I will answer them all as I get through them. So the very first thing we're going to talk about is building an affordable college list. You all have been receiving texts about ways to build an affordable college list from your coaches, but we'll dive a bit deeper into this now. This is like the holy grail of slides. There's a lot of great resources here. One of you asked a great question earlier about merit scholarships, and some of the links here will lead you to that. You can also ask your coach. They'll also send you more links. But in this slide, well, with this slide, you might have seen it before at our other workshops. It's definitely one that you should go back to after this workshop to use as a guide for adding low-cost schools to your college list. So the very first way is to look for schools with a lower sticker price. Most private schools you'll see are at like 80K a year, 90K a year. The lower sticker price is probably your state schools or community colleges where they're like 50, 40, or 30K. Public in-state universities, keyword in-state, if you go out of state, those tuition tends to be higher for public schools. Private schools typically tend to stay the same for in-state and out-of-state. Low tuition schools, so there are schools that have really low tuition, like 15K a year or less. There are also free, tuition-free schools. They are rare, but they do exist, so check out that link to see which ones are available to you. And then good financial aid. So schools that meet 100% of demonstrated need. This one is important, at least it was to me, because I knew my family was high need, so I knew finding schools that met this would mean that we would have to pay less out of pocket. And so just to define demonstrated need a little bit more, this is when after schools consider your FAFSA and financial capacity to afford college, they cover the remaining amount. 100% need covers most, if not all of the remaining amount. And some colleges are committed to covering the full demonstrated need. And those are typically through grants, scholarships, work study, and sometimes loans. Many provide a percentage of the calculated needs. They don't cover all, and so sometimes that leaves you a gap. So definitely doing your research and knowing what sort of aid and financial aid they offer is important. We also have a link for 100% of demonstrated need for undocumented students. And financial aid does function differently for undocumented students, and so schools with lower sticker prices and schools that meet 100% of demonstrated need for undocumented student is a good starting point. Scholarships will also be super important. So if you want more information on applying to colleges as an undocumented student, the link that Edley just shared will be super helpful. And then sorry. Lastly, schools with great merit scholarships. So these are schools that have large endowments, and large endowments just mean that they're private schools being funded by private resources, like partners or people with a lot of money that really like the school, or alumni and things like that. So schools with those will typically have merit scholarships or other scholarships to offer. And then schools with full rides, those are typically the merit scholarship ones, and those can be more competitive. Um, and require like really high grades and academics and stuff. Any question? Yes, so you'll have access to these slides on Friday. We'll send out the recording and the slides over text on Friday. So you all will have access to this later. But Eileen also added in the links, which is awesome. Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna take a minute to drink some water while y'all, do some reflection. So we just shared a couple, or I just shared a couple of strategies for adding affordable colleges to your list. Are there any that you have already looked into? Are there any that you want to look into to add to your list? So I will go back in the slide in a few seconds for y'all to look at it and then just chat in which ones you want to look into or already have. For me, I mentioned 100% of demonstrated need. So that one I definitely looked into. I applied to most of the schools on that list. Um, I also applied to community college as a safety school because worst case scenario, I will go to community college for 2 years and transfer if none of the other schools gave good financial aid packages. Um, and then my grades weren't great enough for full ride scholarships, but I definitely did look into some because that was definitely ideal. There are scholarships out there that do give full rides, so one of them that I know of is Questbridge, but there's probably more out there. No worries, Sophia. There will be a recording later that you can review. Okay, Catherine, thank you for sharing. Definitely 100 demonstrated need and large endowment. Awesome. Cool. Feel free to check this out later. Look into these schools and definitely add at least 2 or 3 to your list. That way you have a variety of options when the financial aid offers do come out later. I attended Dickinson College. It is a private liberal arts college in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. And my first year was completely free. I had a lot of scholarships, and aid from the school, so I was able to go for free my first year. And then afterwards, I had to take out loans for the remaining years. I also studied abroad, which I needed to take out loans for too. But it did cover most of it. It was a private liberal arts college, and they were known for giving out aid. Yeah, Jason, that's a great idea. Community college is never a bad thing. It's honestly great for saving money and just getting your core classes out the way. A lot of community colleges have a lot of great opportunities too, so never a bad option. Especially if none of your other schools are giving you enough. It's definitely a solid option. I did not apply through QuestBridge. I don't think I knew that was a thing when I applied for colleges back then. I did apply for the Dell Scholarship and a couple of other things. Great questions. Okay, I'm gonna move forward because we are talking about scholarships. So in this section, we'll be going over some scholarships and what to look out for. So our recommendation is to get started now. Identify scholarships that you are interested in applying to. And we suggest this because in the fall, when school starts, you will be so busy with college applications, schoolwork, extracurriculars, and all of that stuff. So getting ahead now is great. And then by August, you'll want to prep based on scholarship deadlines and requirements. And from September to April, or even until you graduate college, you will just be submitting applications. Um, a good note is to keep track of the scholarships on a spreadsheet so that you could stay organized because there are so many scholarships out there. And so once you get access to the slide deck, feel free to click on this link, or you can ask your coach to share one with you. College Essay Guy also has a really good scholarship tracker that you can use. And then something else I would like to note too is in the spring of your senior year, a lot of local scholarships will open up. So checking those out and applying can be huge. I know local scholarships and little ones like that tend to be a lot less in money. It'll be like 500, 1,000 or something. But those can add up the more you apply. And then local scholarships are also a lot less competitive. So make sure you speak with your counselor or search up local scholarships and apply for those later on too. You can Google things like scholarships in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and they'll most likely come up. Oh, and then the biggest thing, there's no set amount of scholarships that you should apply to. You should apply to as many as you can and as you are able to, even while you are in college. It does not have to stop at high school. You can apply while you're in college as well. Okay, so some ways to win scholarships. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, very jumpy when it comes to animals. You like horses?
Sorry.
No worries. Um, okay, so some ways to win scholarships. College Essay Guy explains this in a really great way. So, one of them is great academics. So grades, test scores, and aptitude for a specific subject. So if you're taking the ACTs and you do amazingly in the sciences, then that's a way to get a scholarship as well. You have an amazing talent, so athletic, artistic, or something that you were awarded. A unique set of qualities. So, for example, being an adopted Native American transgender girl from Montana, majoring in horticulture with feathered parents who now work as teachers. I know that's a mouthful and that was a lot, but each of these qualities underlined can make for a can make you eligible for specific scholarships. So definitely considering what qualities you have and kind of what scholarships align with those. And then also lots of time and determination. You might apply to 100 scholarships and then only get awarded like 10 or less. And that's okay. Continue dedicating time and applying to as many as you can. Your efforts will be shown at the end. It's important to consider smaller scholarships, especially. I know $100 doesn't seem like a lot, but I promise you they will add up. So definitely consider your attributes and use this to find scholarships that you're eligible for. For example, I'm a middle child. I might find some scholarships that are for middle childs or Vietnamese American or low income or something like that. There's a scholarship for everything out there. Even left-handed people have scholarships out there. So definitely consider what yours are, look them up and apply. Okay. A little bit more on what makes you unique. There are scholarships for all different types of people, so you might be surprised. So take a minute to think about what your qualities are. Think of your interests, any talents that you have, any life experiences, activities or extracurriculars, cultural or racial identity, city, town, state, or even country of origin, any languages that you speak. And I will give you about 4 minutes to think of 5 to 10 things that make you you. And we'll also use this link in case you wanted to reference something. This link is a link of scholarships based on interests, careers, religion, sports, and things like that. I was surprised to see esports on here. Esports have grown, so it was really cool to see this on here. There's a lot of like cool ones too, like games and marbles. Like, what do you mean by marbles? So definitely look through this and come up with a list of 5 to 10 things that make you, and then we'll circle back in 4 minutes. All right, I know it hasn't been 4 minutes yet, but I do want to be mindful of any questions that you all have later. So we will move forward, but if any of you want to unmute or chat in some things that make you you and that you want to look for in scholarships, feel free to do so.
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah,
If you're a soccer player slash football player, like, can you do both at the same time, or you have to choose one?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that one more time?
If you're a soccer slash a football player, do you need to choose? Like, do you have to choose both? Can you only choose one, or can you choose both of them at the same time?
Like in regards to a scholarship or playing the sport in college?
Scholarship and playing the sport in college.
So for scholarships, it depends on the scholarship requirements. So if the scholarship's like, oh, you can only apply if you are just playing soccer, then that would be up to the scholarship. But at most times you should be able to apply to both, unless you know the scholarship says otherwise. And then as for school, I don't think it's recommended to play both sports, especially if you're playing competitively. Like if you're going to D1, 2, or 3 school. I don't think students typically play more than one sport in college because it's very time consuming. So I mean, you could play soccer as a competitive one and then basketball as a club sport. Great question. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Let's see. Okay, so scholarships in theater, that's one of your extracurriculars, but you're trying to major in STEM. That's awesome. Okay, so you're definitely your profile seems diverse. So you are interested in pursuing something in STEM, but you're also interested in theater and do that as an extracurricular or thing on the side. So that's really cool. Huge interest in civil rights, political activism, and community action. I want to go into laws. Awesome, amazing. Okay, so a lot of the things that you're interested in is leading into a career that you're interested in, which is great. Definitely, probably loads of scholarships for things like that out there. Okay, a lot of environmental sciences, STEM majors here, which is really cool. Um, ecological systems and science. Half African American, half Italian. Oh, that's awesome. First base softball, local student. Wow, okay. Joiner, you have a lot to go off of. That's great. You think you want to study law? That's okay. You don't have to know what you want to study or even have a career in now. You have plenty of time to learn that, especially in college. I changed my major once in college. So it's totally normal. Um, Pretty closely scholarships. Yeah, great. Okay, awesome. Yeah, there is a lot of law students in our workshop today. Amazing. Okay, cool. Thank you all so much for sharing. Feel free to connect with each other too. Um, Varsity track athlete. Okay. You don't want to do it for college. Can I still use it? Yeah, I mean, some of these scholarships may not require you to do it while you're in college too. I didn't click on any specifically to look, but if you did it in high school, they might just want to award you for that, and then you don't have to continue in college. So definitely check the requirements and eligibility. Awesome. Amazing. Okay. Oh, I clicked on the next slide. All right. So, you all may have already gotten this text and are familiar with this, but I do want to go over our scholarship guide in depth. There is a lot of great resources and things that we have in here. We list useful scholarship search engines and some of the best scholarships that we know. So, just to briefly go over this with you. We have a couple of tips for scholarships, especially on how to not get scammed. Um, some important things like keeping track of deadlines and other tips. And then if you scroll down to the second page, this is where all of the search engines that we've used before and that we recommend you use as well. And then we talk a little about local scholarships. I mentioned this briefly earlier. Excuse me. I mentioned this briefly earlier, and I do recommend that you look through this because, like I said, small scholarships will add up. Local scholarships have less competition, So these will be good for you. Sorry, my dog just bursted in. State scholarships. Every state should have some sort of scholarship. We listed a few here, but if you can't find yours, you can check out these other websites below. And then national scholarships. These are the huge ones that offer a lot of money, full rides, or whatever it may be, but they are extremely competitive, and sometimes take a long time to complete. The applications can be lengthy. It could be a couple of essays, or requires you to fully break down your like high school history or whatever it is. So these take more time. So if you are interested in any of these, prepare for them as soon as possible. And then we have specific scholarships for historically underrepresented students listed here. You'll find scholarships for undocumented students here. And my favorite one to use is the third bullet point. This has a pretty comprehensive list of all scholarships and fellowships for undocumented students. And it breaks it down by due date, award amount, and then kind of eligibility and requirements here. Pretty long list, which is awesome. So I highly recommend you all utilize this tip sheet. You'll get the slides for the link over text on Friday. If you don't get it and you don't see it, you can email me and I can send it to you. Awesome. All right, we'll skip the question. I think I am running a little behind on time. The name for the scholarship has changed. I think it's called the Big Future. I think it's Big Future Scholarships now. But this is still a scholarship that's amazing. There are 6 steps to winning, or 6 steps leading to the grand prize. The grand prize, I think, is $40,000. And so once you complete all 6 steps, you'll be entered in for the raffle for the $40,000. But the great thing about this is that all of these steps have mini scholarships associated with them. And they are awarded to a lot of students. As you can see, this one's 700 scholarships, 1,500 scholarships, and they're all at certain amounts. And then these are things that you're already doing as juniors. You're building your college list, you're practicing for the SATs, you're completing the FAFSA at some point. So these are, to me, this is an easy, quick scholarship that you can do, and there's many rewards. So definitely give it a shot. You're already doing the steps. And then I think Eileen just dropped in the link. This next scholarship is actually something that we'll be promoting over text in the fall when it opens up. You all are eligible because you're part of Let's Get Ready. Obviously, there are some other eligibility requirements, but one of the biggest ones is being a part of a college-based organization. And because you're a part of Let's Get Ready, that is one requirement out of the way. I won't talk too much about this because we will send a lot more information. There'll be info sessions for this later on, but this is a great scholarship because it does award $20,000 and you also get a laptop and a lot of cool other resources. Right, so what does it take to apply for scholarships? Wherever you're at in your college application journey, it'll be important to begin preparing or applying to scholarships now. You'll likely need a resume. This isn't necessarily a resume from a job that you've had. It could be highlighting your achievements outside of classes, achievements within classes, clubs, extracurriculars, volunteer work, anything you've done outside of the classroom. Letters of recommendation, similar to what we recommend for college apps. You'll ask teachers, employers, coaches, and things like that to write letters of recommendations. And then just creating a list of best fit scholarships for you. So applying for way more money than you hope to receive. And then just making sure you don't overlook any small scholarships. Getting started now will definitely reduce stress later on. And when you have, especially when you have too much on your plate, scholarships will likely fall off. You won't be thinking about it as much. So definitely get ahead of that now, especially the national, like larger ones, like Westbridge, Dell Scholarship, and things like that. This workshop is for rising seniors. So you are totally fine. Okay, so let's take a minute to think about our goals for scholarships. It's important to have goals because scholarships are an important part of making college affordable. We talked about a lot of different aspects for applying the scholarships, like the timeline, searching for them, prioritizing which ones to apply to, preparing your materials, the Dell and Big Future Scholarship, and then our scholarship guide. So what's one step that you all want to take this week regarding scholarships? So something I might do is, or a goal I might set for myself is this week I want to look through the Dell Scholarship and make an outline of what I need to do before it opens on October 1st. Consider the SMART acronym to make your goal stronger. I'll give you about 2 minutes to identify a step. No need to share if you do not want to, but you can also throw it in the chat. Start asking for recommendation letters. Yeah, definitely, especially when the fall semester starts, or sorry, the school year starts, your teachers will most likely be getting a lot of requests for college stuff. So getting recommendation letters as soon as possible. Like if you know any of them this summer, feel free to just shoot them an email. Review, prioritize merit-based scholarships like the Dell or PASA scholarships. Yeah, definitely. A PASA scholarship is definitely one that a lot of people apply to. So definitely getting ahead, writing any essays you have to. Figure out what I need to do for individual scholarships. Yeah, great goals. Definitely write them down, try to achieve them, talk with your coaches if you feel stuck or need any help. I do recommend oh, nope. Okay, I do recommend referencing the scholarship guide and checking out the national scholarships, because these are large amount of money. I'm pretty sure Questbridge is the one that's full ride. And they do take a lot. If you aren't sure how to prepare or what to prepare, something I would do is Google Questbridge National College Match application. Um, not draft, what is that word? Application outline, maybe? And just look through a bunch of links. Sometimes clicking on images can help you find like an example template of the application. I know Questbridge has a lot of YouTube videos too, so checking those out. But do some research, kind of get a hold of what you need to do. It's a great, very smart idea. Awesome. Okay, cool. So we'll take a 5-minute break. I'll see you all back at 6:55. If anyone has any questions, feel free to throw it in the chat or come off mute. Otherwise, I'm gonna go stretch and I will see you all back in 5 minutes. Um, all right. So we're gonna talk a little bit about talking to family about finances. You all may have already been doing this with your family, especially if you're using the net price calculator in your college search, but we are gonna talk a little bit more about this. So in most cases, students' families or guardians' finances are a huge driving factor in how much aid they'll qualify for and how much money they'll be left needing to contribute after aid, unless you're legally and financially independent. So most families don't openly talk about their finances, but when it comes to college, you kind of need to know. And so here's why. You'll need to know how much money they make, because this can impact your financial aid offer. Your parents or guardians may be able to contribute money or take out loans on your behalf. They also may not. Once you have this information, you can use net price calculators, which can estimate aid and remaining tuition at each school before you even apply. And you can attend college no matter what, but understanding your family's finances will allow you to create a school list that's affordable for you. It is normal if your family is not able to contribute to your college expenses, which is why making sure it's affordable for you is so important. So doing all the steps I mentioned before will be key. Even loans can feel like a lot, and that's okay. Staying on top of scholarships and ensuring the schools that you are applying to will be helpful. Some families are reserved when it comes to talking about their finances. Honestly, I don't think my parents knew anything about the FAFSA. They just knew that I needed their tax income paper, and I got a lot of tax return, and I got a lot of information from that. So I didn't really need too much of their help. So a great solution if you need to have this conversation with your family is doing your research. Know what you need from them, know what they need to share and what they don't need to share. A lot of hesitation comes from credit score checks, just wanting their information out there in the public. They don't want that, but the FAFSA is a secured government website, so making sure that they know those things. So, let's take a minute to share some emojis. What's an emoji that expresses how you feel about asking your parents or guardians about their financial situation and or what they plan to contribute to your education? I know my emoji was definitely nerve-wracking, sad, scared, anxious, because I've never talked about finances with my family and I didn't know how to. I just knew I needed stuff for college and that was how I explained it. And they were like, okay. But your parents' family might be different, so how are you feeling? Let's see. Okay, Joyner, you had a great question. Do they take into account the amount of siblings you have? Um, in the old FAFSA, yes, they did, but I think in the new one, I think they take in your household number. I do not remember if it, sorry, in the old FAFSA, it was how many is going to count. I think in the new FAFSA, it's just how many people we have. So they do take it into account, but it's a little differently this year than it used to be in the old FAFSA. I will actually follow up with you after this meeting. I'll send you an email with more information on this because I cannot remember it right now. So let me jot down your name. Awesome. Okay, thank you for the emojis. Let's see. Okay, a couple of positive emojis. That's great. Shirley, I was definitely there with you. Don't worry. If you have any concerns around FAFSA, Let's Get Ready is here for you, so do not worry, you are not alone. But some ways to open up a conversation with your family is really just sharing your financial goals with them, especially from the poll that we did earlier. Letting them know that you want to go to college debt free. You don't want to take out any loans, and having certain information from them is important in this goal. Let them know that it can help you create an affordable college list by knowing how much they make and kind of where you stand. Ask to have a conversation ahead of time instead of putting them on the spot when you are nearing a deadline. It can trust them out. So let them know, like, hey, I'm applying to colleges next year. I'm gonna need your tax return and this information and that information. Um, Being worried is totally valid and normal. It can be a lot to talk about, but take it one step at a time. Plan how you want to talk about finances with your family, get the facts, and only ask what you need. You don't need their whole financial history. You only need certain information. It could even be helpful if you have a family member that has gone through the process, so like a cousin or a cousin's cousin, to help you speak with your parents about it, because they know the experience and they can share that stuff too. You all got this, and I know these conversations will be hard at first, but don't worry, you're not alone. LGR and your coach is here to help you, so don't hesitate to reach out if you want support. And Shirley, I see your question. The FAFSA opens October 1st. Yeah, great example. Certain scholarships even ask you how much your household income is. So definitely important to have these conversations with your family. Awesome. Okay, so I know this chart's a little hard to look at, so I will briefly go over it, but we will have a link in the chat for you to check out so you can see this chart in full. But this is a guide to kind of help you know which parents you should talk to about their finances. So if your parents aren't married and they're actually separated, you may only need one of their informations. If they remarry, you may need your step-parents' information. There's also specific scenarios, if they are separated but living together and whatnot. There's a bunch of different routes. So definitely take a look at this chart. There's even a which parent do I ask calculator now. So you can use that too. But this will help you figure out if you need to talk to both or just one. And then definitely can start to feel a little complicated and technical when you start diving into FAFSA, but it helps us to prepare for FAFSA ahead of time by considering these things and preparing. For more details on specific situations, including if you are a citizen but your parents are not, as well as if you don't live with either of your parents, you can check out this link. Oh, awesome. Thanks, Edlene. You can check out this link. I'm not a FAFSA expert. It's always changing. Every time I think I got it, there's always something new. But the FAFSA website has a ton of guides and resources and things like that, and I reference them all the time. So feel free to reach out to your coaches. We'll do some digging and we'll definitely help you figure it out too. Okay, so speaking about the FAFSA, we're going to talk about how to complete it, what it looks like. But once you complete the FAFSA initially, you will have to renew it every year, so it is a constant thing. So some important things to know about the FAFSA. It stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. Emphasis on the word free. If at any point you have to pay anything, you're probably on the wrong link. It is a free application. It provides access to free money in forms of grants and scholarships. Some scholarships may ask for your SAI or a summary of your FAFSA, so definitely completing it is key to unlocking more money. It's used by schools to evaluate need-based financial aid. So we talked earlier about 100% demonstrated need schools. They will need your FAFSA information to determine that. And also for the government loans and things like that, they'll also need that, and also work study. You need to complete it every year, but after your initial completion, it should be a little bit easier. You're just renewing it. It'll have all your information saved already. And then if you are not a US citizen, you may or may not be eligible. So there is a spot for you to check if you are eligible or not. And Adeline just added it into the chat. The FAFSA has gone before Congress and policies have been evolving. So if you want to stay up to date and learn more, you can check out the link that Adeline dropped in the chat too. All right, so the FAFSA opens up October 1st. And I think everyone you know, any like staff member, high school teacher, anyone, counselors, will tell you to complete it as soon as possible. A lot of people recommend you to complete it on October 1st, but sometimes the site crashes, so within that week is fine. But we encourage you to fill it out immediately because money is assigned on a rolling basis. So the later you apply, the less money is available. Different colleges and states may have FAFSA deadlines. So definitely checking into those, especially if you're applying early decision or early action, they may require you to complete your FAFSA sooner. Getting your IDs, parents' tax returns, and a bunch of other things may not be as simple. You may need to go through your accountant, or you may need to go to the government's website to get a transcript of your tax return. So it may take a long time. So definitely getting these things prepared in advance and applying as soon as possible. So the key takeaway here is that for many things, it's okay to wait for the deadline to do it. I'm a huge procrastinator. If I didn't have to do it immediately, I would wait until the very end, June 30th, to do it. But this is not one of the things you wait for. You want to make sure you get the most money possible, so complete it as soon as possible. The FAFSA can be complicated. Every student's family and financial situation is different, which can make following out financial aid forms complicated, especially if you have additional things to consider and factor in, and more documents to put in. It can get super scary. But don't worry, you're not doing this alone. You can always reach out to us. We can connect you with resources. Your counselor is always there. Loads of people out here to support you. But if you have to take the lead on filling out these forms, like I did when I was in high school, I had to complete the FAFSA all on my own. You are 100% capable of finishing and doing so. It's not as hard as it may seem or look. You are definitely able to do it all on your own. Definitely ask for help from someone who's filled it out before, or a staff member like your counselor. Do you know exactly what date you need for FAFSA? What do you mean, Shirley? The FAFSA opens October 1st, so you can apply then. Is there a different? Oh, sorry, what data? Sorry, I am a little dyslexic. I do have. So this is the list of things that you need. You need to create a FSA ID first. Oh no, it's not the link. Did I click on the wrong link? Okay, gathering documents needed. So your social security number, your parents, the tax return from 2 years ago. I always mess up this math. I think it would be your 2023 tax returns. Child support, any records of that, current balances of cash savings and things like that. And then if you have any investment businesses or farms, you'll need to know the net worth of those things. So this is like the main thing that you need. We'll definitely send out more information about this, but I'll share the link for now. Sorry, I lost where I was. Okay. It's hard with my dad. He leaves things to the last minute and stuff. Oh, okay. I totally hear you. Yeah, definitely look at that list. I'll write your name down. I'll actually send you. I think there's a different list that breaks it up a little better. Cool. Great questions. All right. So heads up. Just make sure you check out what questions are included on the FAFSA. You can check out a preview of it online. They have a English and Spanish version. So looking ahead to see what questions there are and kind of what information you need from your parents will be helpful. If they're not able to help you fill it out, this will be helpful prep to do. Check out College Essay Guy's guide to avoid the most common rookie FAFSA mistakes. There are a lot of mistakes we could make on the FAFSA, so check this out to prepare is also great. Keep checking your emails. After you complete the FAFSA, you can be selected for verification, and this is important to stay on top of to make sure that you are still eligible for aid. So constantly checking your emails and being on top of that. And then FAFSA is not the only financial aid form that you might need to fill out. Most private schools or colleges in general will require you to complete the CSS profile to access scholarships and financial aid. And the CSS profile is slightly more complicated than the FAFSA, so you want to be sure that if you do need to fill it out, you want to be on top of it. Okay. Any questions before we move into the final section? Okay, cool. All right, so reviewing financial aid offers. This isn't too important right now because you won't be getting financial aid offers until like March, sometime in the spring, when you get acceptance letters. But it is important to keep in mind. So financial aid award letters come after you finish all your financial aid and college applications, and you get your decisions on where you've been accepted to. Most acceptance letters will come with a financial aid award letter, and those are typically not finalized until August, so it gets very confusing and messy. But each college that accepts you will send a financial aid award letter, and these are super important So you want to review them closely, understand them completely before you accept any admissions offers. The amount of age each school gives you will vary, often dramatically. For a school that costs 80K, a private liberal arts, your financial aid award could be 5K out of pocket, whereas a state school could be like 30K out of pocket. So it definitely varies. Financial aid letters are confusing and they come in different formats. I got confused all the time when I was looking at mine because they included this amount and this one didn't, and then they're separated. Whatever it is, it can be confusing. But no matter what, we are here for you. We'll help you. Your counselors are also there to help you. This is likely a very new thing for all of you, reviewing some sort of financial document in this large capacity. And it's something that only exists relating to college. Not a lot of other things kind of break it down this way. So take your time. You don't have to make a decision for admissions until like May 1st, which is the National College Admissions or National College Decision Day, unless the school requires you to make one earlier. Well, yes, Jason, we will be sending all of this out. Apologies for not responding sooner. Are you okay? You are still here. Can you send me your last name for attendance, and that way I can make sure I get this link to you. Awesome. Okay, so financial aid award letters. Some important things to know. Some schools try to make it appear like you'll pay less. They might include your loans and work study into the whole kind of bill that they break down, and those aren't necessarily a part of your aid. They are, but like they're very dependent, and then loans you have to pay back. So it can be confusing. We'll send a tip sheet and video on how to retrieve them. To review them. So definitely when the time comes, we will be sending resources and information your way. This will vary, really be helpful. A place to utilize the support of Let's Get Ready coaches that you have next year. You'll have senior coaches next year, and they've been through this with their students. So they will definitely be able to support you. And then lastly, do not commit to attending a college before you review the financial aid offers from all schools that you get into. You might get more aid from another school compared to your dream school, and you can use that aid from the other school to leverage more aid from your dream school. Those are called financial aid appeal letters. So don't commit just yet. Make sure you get all of your financial aid award letters before you make a final decision. Okay, that was a lot. I know it was a lot. I felt like I was rambling at points, which is why I know it was a lot. So we talked a lot about finances of colleges, and it is a lot, honestly, but we are here for you. We'll break it down. We'll send you text messages around kind of step by step what you should be doing and where you should be at, tip sheets and a bunch of scholarships and resources and things like that. So you're not alone. We are here to help you. And I know you all can do it. I know by next year you all will be in college, so don't be afraid. Any questions? Okay. You can feel free to chat it in, but I'm gonna close this out. Thank you all so much for joining us today in our last workshop of the year. In just a few weeks, you'll be meeting your senior coaches. So I hope you all enjoyed this workshop and all of the workshops previous if you've attended any other ones. Before you all leave, we would greatly appreciate your feedback. We use this to help update our workshops in the future. So please click on the link admin just shared or scan the QR code. But if no questions, you all are free to go. Thank you so much for sitting through this with me.